This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. U.S. President Joe Biden is taking a step he says could provide Americans nearly immediate relief from high gas prices. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
I know gas prices are painful. I get it.
As prices at the pump have soared, the president's approval rating has fallen sharply. He's blaming the rise on Russia's Ukraine invasion, but says American budgets should not be left to the whims of a dictator. So he's announcing the release of 1 million barrels of oil a day for 6 months from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve, which he says will make a gallon of gas cheaper.
Could come down fairly significantly. It could come down the better part of, anything from 10 cents to 35 cents a gallon. It's unknown.
The president's also calling for Congress to punish oil and gas companies that lease public lands without actually producing any energy. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Heavy fighting continued Thursday on the outskirts of Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, as Russian troops did not de-escalate, as Russian officials claimed they would, following peace talks earlier this week. A spokesman for the International Committee of the Red Cross called the ceasefire desperately important and told the Washington Post that the Red Cross teams are traveling with relief items and medical supplies to facilitate the safe passage of civilians out of Mariupol on Friday. Meanwhile, Ukrainian emergency services say the death toll has risen to 20 from a Russian missile strike Tuesday on the regional government headquarters in the southern city of Mykolaiv. And the Ukrainian company that operates the Chernobyl nuclear power plant reported Thursday that Russian troops who had occupied the plant were leaving. You're listening to VOA News. Former White House aide Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of former U.S. President Donald Trump, answered questions Thursday from the House panel investigating last year's January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol building. Kushner, the highest-ranking Trump advisor and the first family member to testify so far, appeared in private by video link voluntarily, meaning he was not subpoenaed. Committee member Elaine Luria told MSNBC after Kushner's appearance that he was able to voluntarily provide information to us to verify and substantiate his own take on the election. The House of Representatives committee is piecing together a detailed account of the events of the January 6th insurrection. It's also investigating a plot by Trump allies to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. Kushner was returning from Saudi Arabia on the day of January 6th. He did not spend the night at the White House that night upon his return to the United States. A U.S. federal judge has struck down portions of Florida's new election law. AP correspondent Jennifer King has that story.
U.S. District Judge Mark Walker has ruled that many parts of Florida's 2021 election law were unconstitutional, intentionally designed to suppress black and Hispanic voters. The law was one of many passed around the nation last year that Republicans said were needed to guard against voter fraud. For the past 20 years, Walker wrote, the majority in the Florida legislature has attacked the voting rights of its black constituents. He said that given that history, any future election law changes should be subject to approval under the Federal Voting Rights Act. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the state will appeal. The case would go to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta, which is seen as being more conservative. I'm Jennifer King.
Scientists say they've finally assembled the full genetic blueprint for human life, adding the missing pieces to a puzzle nearly completed 2 decades ago. An international team described the sequencing of a complete human genome, the set of instructions to build and sustain a human being. They published their research Thursday in the journal Science. The previous effort, celebrated across the world, was incomplete because DNA sequencing technologies were more limited at the time. Scientists said the first full picture of the genome will give humanity a greater understanding of our evolution and biology, while opening the door to future medical discoveries. A Vietnamese automaker has announced plans to build a plant in the southeastern U.S. state of North Carolina to manufacture electric vehicles. It promises to bring 7,500 new jobs to the state. And recapping our top story, President Biden is taking a step he says could provide Americans nearly immediate relief from high gas prices. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton, VOA News.